Good morning, Akka. You can start.
Okay, good morning. Just 1 minute.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who's it?
Uma.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, Kathy, good morning. I'm visible, no?
Yes.
And okay, so today we will be doing child development. Is there anyone here who has done child development already? Anyone who has done Montessori training or anything like that? Nothing? Okay. Let us start with if my voice is not audible, if there is any difficulty technically, let me know. Okay. Okay. So tell me the difference between growth and development. Anybody knows? Growth and development. Should I tell? Nobody knows? Okay. See, growth is the it is the physical increase in the size of an organism. Okay. Part of an organism. It is the increase in the number of cells. Growth obviously stops at a particular point. All of us stop growing. Let us say for girls, it is generally for girls, boys, 21, 22, or maximum 25. This is the case with humans as well as other mammals. Okay. But in plants, it may continue all through. Certain body parts like hair, nails, and all, they continue to grow throughout our life. But otherwise, our height, our weight increases, decreases, all those things. But our height or our general organ system and all, they stop growing after a particular age. Okay, so our growth will stop. But development is a progressive series. It happens all through our life. It's a qualitative change. Okay. When we say qualitative means, see, the height of a person who is 21 or 22 or 23 will be the same as the height of a person who is 45. But will we say that a person who is 23-year-old is same in terms of a person who is 45 years old when it comes to development? Because their mental development, their language development, their social development, everything will be very different, very much more than a person who's just 23 years old. Okay. It's a very complex process. It integrates so many systems, so many phenomena. So basically, development is dependent on? What do you feel development of a person is dependent on? How is a person who is 23 years old different from a person who is 45 or 50 years old? What changes? How do they develop? What is the cause for the change in the development? Major cause. What has changed?
Their age, their exposure to the conditions.
Exactly. Experience comes in. And in terms of child development, we call it as maturation. Okay, maturation and experience. And this maturation and experience is due to various factors. What can be those factors mainly? Just think and tell. This is a very, experiential subject. So whatever you say, you might have experienced so many things. So just go on sharing it. It will be more interesting. So what changes the experience of one person from another? What do you think is the cause?
Depending on their personal experiences, their personal exposure.
So what changes the personal experience of a person? How are you and I different?
To begin with, the family setup.
Exactly. See, family is there, environment is there, peers, some physical ailment, medical care, or nutrition, or someone might have undergone some physical accidents, which may make them different from us. Okay. In today's scenario, also social media. Social media affects a person in varied ways. One person may be looking at social media in a very different way, while the other person may be following very different kind of, these people they may be following. So social media affects our experience and maturation in a very different level. Okay, this is what our social conditions, our family conditions, our school, our college, our education, everything, our culture, everything. Okay. So, what are the developments? Tell me various forms of developments that a person undergoes. Name a few developments which comes into your mind. There are various developments.
Emotional.
Good. Social. Okay, then.
Spiritual, which could be at a very higher level.
Yes, absolutely. Spiritual development is there. Okay, then.
Okay, primarily physical development.
Exactly. First is physical development. Absolutely, yes. First is physical development, then social development, correct, emotional development, spiritual development. Anything else? There is one more thing. Language development is there, right? The way we communicate. Yes, that is there. Then there is one very important development, that is intellectual or cognitive. Okay, intellectual development is there. Then moral development is there. How one person handles a situation morally will be different from the other person. Okay, so these are the various developments which one by one we will go through them. The first one, as you told, is physical development. Okay, physical development is very interesting. See, there are few things which happens with every child. It is not dependent on any other factor. It's there. Typically, it is there for most of them. They get this. They are called as reflexes. It may be a delayed one, but mostly kids have reflexes. The first development which we will talk about is reflexes. Okay. What are the reflexes that a newborn has? One example I give, sucking. Sucking is a reflex.
They were shocked to cry when police.
Yes, yes. I'll come to right, left later on. First is sucking reflex. Second is rooting reflex. Okay. When infant's cheek is stroked or the side of its mouth is touched, the infant instantly turns its head towards that side. That's a reflex. Okay. It's all survival instinct. Then there is something called as Moro reflex. Moro reflex is startling reflex. When there is some jerky noise or movement, instantly the newborn will throw its head like this. And they will fling out their arms, legs. They close their arms. This is called as Moro reflex. So, few reflexes are sucking reflex, which is natural, which is there from the birth. Sucking reflex, rooting reflex, Moro reflex, and grasping reflex. Grasping. Whenever you give something to a newborn, instantly they will close their palm. They will grasp it tightly. They are born with that particular reflex. Okay? It is not voluntary. It is involuntary. By the end of third month, it becomes more voluntary because they are able to see it and then decide whether they want to hold it or not. But for the first 3 months, it is only involuntary. Okay? Now I am coming to the periods of development. Periods of development, first and foremost and most important is prenatal. Prenatal is the time from conception to birth. 9 months period. I would say it is the fastest growth period of any individual. From a single cell to an organism complete with brain and behavioral capabilities. Within 9 months, the entire thing happens. Okay. So, in periods of development, first is prenatal period. Second is infancy. Infancy from birth till what age do we call them an infant? Any idea? Till what age?
3?
No, 2.
2.
Okay. So 24
So
months.
they don't remember things. No?
Yes. They are extremely dependent, I would say. Okay. So birth to 24 months. It is the time of extreme dependency on adults. All the other psychological activities will start. Language, sensory motor, coordination, social learning, everything will start during infancy. Okay, so we have reached 24 months. From the age of 2 till about 5 to 6 years, it is called as early childhood. Childhood is divided into 2, early and late. So from the age of 2 till 5 or 6 years, it is called as early childhood. That is the preschool years. It is called as early childhood. Why do we divide it? Because the development rate is very different. From the age of 2 till 5 to 6, that is the period when the child actually goes out for the first time. Out means they are not with their parents anymore. So this is the time when they become more self-sufficient. They learn, they start to take care of themselves. They become ready for the school. They spend many hours with their peers. They start playing with somebody else apart from their family. Okay. So this will go on till they are in the first grade. When it is more of play-based development than academic-based development. Then it will be late childhood. That is from the age of 6 to 11. Okay. This is what we call as elementary school years. This is when they are seriously into reading, writing, arithmetics. They're exposed to the larger world, culture. Achievement becomes more central. They are more controlled. Their self-control increases. Okay. So early childhood and late childhood. Late childhood will go on till 11 to 12, till puberty hits or adolescence hits. So prenatal, infancy, early childhood, late childhood. Now comes adolescence. Adolescence will go on till 18 to 22. Starting from 10 to 12 and will go on from 18 to 22. Why am I saying 18 to 22? It depends on the gender. Girls will be different, boys will be different. So we have to give a huge margin. 3 to 4 years of difference will be there between girls and boys. What typically changes in adolescence? Physically, we are talking about physical development. So what typically changes in adolescence? Somebody tell me.
Mainly the reproductive organs change,
True. Yeah.
which also the voice, facial hair, or mostly associated to the reproductive organs, or hormones associated with it change.
Yes, yes.
Differently for boys and girls.
Correct, correct. Okay. So their body control will change. Each person will start looking different. They will start looking at themselves in a different way. More time is spent outside of the family. So, okay. This is okay. In infancy, there is something called as cephalocaudal pattern. Cephalocaudal. Okay. Aarti or Uma, I don't know. One of you was talking. So I said, no, I'll come to it later on. Cephalocaudal pattern. It is a sequence of this. I'm talking about infancy. Okay, I left it earlier, so I'm covering it. Cephalocaudal pattern is a sequence in which the growth always starts from the top and goes down. Okay, physical growth, if you see, no, it always starts from the top. Let us say neck will stabilize first, and then the shoulder, then the middle trunk, and so on. So cephalocaudal means top to bottom. That is how human growth takes place. Similarly, there is something called as proximodistal pattern. Proximodistal means the growth, it starts from the center of our body and it will move towards the extremities. Okay. See, the muscular control of the trunk and the arms will be first. And then it will move towards hands and then fingers. When we say cephalocaudal means the child's eyesight will develop first before the neck control. Okay, so it's always from top to bottom. And proximodistal means palms will develop first before fingers. That's why grasping, it takes time. Okay, how is the fine motor development? At what age the child is able to grasp things? Direct line of vision, when does it come?
From infancy.
Sorry?
From infancy.
At what?
During the
Yeah,
period of-
from infancy. When do you think the child is able to reach for objects placed within the direct line of vision?
Around 2, or maybe a little before that also.
Around what? Sorry?
2 years
Yes. No,
or a little before that.
no. I'm talking about fine motor skills development. So I'm again starting from infancy. We have finished the gross motor development of infancy, then childhood, then adolescence. We have finished. Now we are in the fine motor development stage. Okay. In the fine motor development stage, if we again start from infancy, when do you think the infant is able to reach for objects placed within the direct line of vision? At what, how many months does it take? 3 to 4? Maybe the child is able to see what is kept in front of him or her. The child is able to grasp it. That is the first stage of fine motor skill development. Okay. Then, when do they start sitting? When do they start sitting?
Around 6 to 8 months.
I think somebody has to mute their. Okay. So, yes, 6 to 8 months, they start sitting. And when do they start placing things or handling things on their own, picking up things on their own, all those things? When do they start using their thumb, forefinger? When do they start doing it? Maybe 8 to 10 months. And slowly we start giving them things like jigsaw puzzles and blocks and all those things, and they start putting them. Maybe 1.5, 2, 3, it goes on getting complicated. They start putting, firstly, they will just put the blocks like randomly they will put. Then they will start building something more complicated. They will start enclosing their fingers, putting small, small blocks. All these things will start only by 3 years of age. Right? Clay, we also give them modeling clay. They start making enclosed figures by the time they are 2.5, 3. I think, yeah, 2.5, 3 is when they start imagining and making something enclosed. Otherwise, it's a very random thing only they make. Okay. Then, by the time they are 4, what do they do? 4, or let us say 5. How is their fine motor skills by the time they are 5 years of age?
It's quite well developed. They'll be in school, most of them.
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
Running, all kind of physical activities are developed.
I'm talking about fine motor skills. So just
Yeah, the
think of
writing skills would have
fingers. Yes. So that is why they give drawing activities. They will give a circle and the kid will be expected to color within the border. So those are the exercises that are given for the fine motor skills development. By 3.5, 4, and 5 and all, they start coloring very well within the boundary. They start using different colors. They start mixing and matching and all these things they will start. They even start drawing. Okay. Then late childhood. Late childhood, how do they improve their fine motor skills? What exactly they start doing in the school in the late childhood? That is from 6 to 11 years of age.
Could be something like stitching or.
First of all, they start writing. They start writing very well. Okay, they start writing fast. They start writing very well. They write a lot. Printing becomes small. Their handwriting is much evolved now. It's no more very big and now they start writing on the line, below the line, everything. They know all those differences. Precision is there. So these things will be from 7 to 11, 12. When do they typically start doing craft activities, stitching, as you said, no? When do they start doing stitching or cooking or using musical instruments fluently? All those things, at what age do they start?
Teens?
Yes, adolescents. Okay. So after the age of 12, typically they are able to do all these things very well. Also this ball throwing, catching, dressing themselves, grooming, everything they are able to do very well by the time they are adolescents. Now, what I have noticed is it depends a lot on the social development also. The child should get the opportunity to do all these things. Coming to the next development, that is social development. So, I have noticed that social development certainly affects the physical development. If you will compare yourself with your children, I have seen this many a times. My fine motor skills were much better than my kids' fine motor skills. Do you also feel that? Like my exposure to such fine activities, it was much more than what it is today and what today's kids. The general exposure to activities which involves a lot of fine motor skills is less as compared to previous generation. Do you also feel like that?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, it's not gender based or anything, but we used to do cooking when we were 12, 13, all those things. But today's kids, they are not able to. They are not having that exposure to heat, to cold, to sharp things, right? So,
Matter, I realized our teeth are much more well developed than the teeth of the generation of today, simply because we just chewed a lot of things, or raw food or whatever. We were far maybe closer to nature compared to these ones now.
yes, undoubtedly. Our gums are strong. If it was stronger, nowadays, it was stronger than these kids. Today's kids, if they are going to bite a guava, it will end up with a bleeding Yes, I totally agree to it. For them, everything has to be very sophisticated, very well presented. They are not able to be very raw or very, as you said, closer to nature. Okay. Um, Running with a barefoot or climbing up trees or climbing up the gate, climbing up the wall. All these things, I don't think they are able to do at all. So certainly their social exposure is affecting their physical development also. Isn't it? This is one thing. I'm yet to see how these kids will maneuver their life. But this one factor which I have always felt that, okay, these kids have lesser exposure to things which can actually be useful for physical development. No, they are not very, they are very clumsy. Let me put it this way. Mostly their handwriting is very clumsy. Their skills are not that well developed. Okay, next is social development. Again, the most important thing in social development, which most of us talk about, is introvert, extrovert. And do you believe that extroverts or introverts are born like that, or it has anything to do with their environment?
Yes, definitely to do with their environment also. But I think, yeah, there is a basic nature of a person, which probably develops with time. Situations.
Which is further aggravated due to the environment they are put in. Like if they are forcibly put in an environment where they have to communicate effectively, in spite of being introverts, they learn. But if they are not put in that environment, they don't put that effort to learn how to communicate. So they, yes, certainly genetic factor is there, plus also the environment in which they have been put in. Okay. Okay, when the child is born at birth, how is their interaction? How do they interact? A newborn, how does a newborn interact with the society? They cannot talk. Okay, they cannot talk. So how do they interact?
They either cry or smile.
Yes. Smiling also, it starts a bit late only, isn't it? Mainly it is crying only. They are not able to distinguish between people till they are 3 or 4 months old. Till that time, they are crying or they make some other kind of noises. Those are the only things. Or one more thing is kicking, waving their arms. If they are very excited, they will kick, they will wave. That is their way of showing that they are excited or they want something. Socially, smiling will start maybe by 3, 4 months of age. Yes, before that, they are not able to recognize people. So I don't think they smile before that. Yeah. So they also start adjusting themselves, like anticipatory adjustment to being lifted. They are able to have selective attention to faces. They look in the direction of the person. All those things by 3 to 4 months of age will start. Till that time, it is crying, kicking, only that much. And from the maybe from 5th to 6th month, how is their reaction? How do they interact with their society? Are they able to distinguish between voices? Whether somebody is scolding them, are they able to do that?
At least they're able to find out their parents' voices, I think.
Yes, yes. They are able to find out, okay, this is something which I relate to. This is something new. And between 6th and 8th month, how is the social interaction? In fact, they start talking. I won't say talking. They start imitating vocalization, isn't it? They start opening their mouth. And the same, it continues till 7th, 9th month. They imitate the speech. And by 12th month, they start talking. Small, small words, they start talking. By the time they're 15 months, how do they interact?
They are able to call out to their parents and talk a few words.
Yes, yes. They actually start showing interest in adult activities. They want to listen to their parents. They call their parents. They listen to their parents. All those things. That's very important for social development. No. So by the time they're 15 months of age, if the child is not doing all these things, then parents should keep a lookout. They should observe all these things very closely. Whether the child is able to understand their cues, whether the child is able to react to their cues. Many a times, many parents, they say that we found our child is having, I think in the last class, somebody was asking, Revati or somebody. It's very late by the time they realize that the kid is having some problem or some disability, because initially they are not able to pick up these cues. We have to keep a lookout. Okay, by this time my child should be able to understand what I'm talking, or at least should show interest in what I'm talking. Little interest is also, if the child is totally disinterested, not able to relate to what their parents are saying at all, even at the age of 1.5, then that is the time when parents should start thinking what is wrong. Why is it happening like this? Very often what we do is we just look at the physical attributes. We ignore the social attributes of a child. We don't notice that the child is not responding at all. The child is not crying if the child is hungry. The child is not responding. The child is not at all getting angry. All these little cues we have to keep looking out. Okay. By the time they are 2 years, they actually start helping adults. You have noticed by the time they are 2, at least their own job, they want to help their parents, like taking bath or dressing up. These are all ways in which they interact with their society. They want to participate. They want to be a part of what is happening around. By the time they are 2, they do all these things. Then after that, 2 to 6. 2 to 6 is the time when they go to the play school, right? So what happens at that time typically?
You have to learn interacting with the other children, other people other than the parents.
And also stay away from parents.
Yes. They realize that they can actually be independent. They can stay away from their parents and siblings. Also, one important thing is, this is a pre-gang age. Kids at this age don't form groups. Whoever is available, they will start playing with that child. Even in a preschool, they will start playing with whatever is available, whoever is available. They don't They are not particular that I want to play only with this person. I want to interact only with this person. That particular trait has not started. It's called as a pre-gang age. Okay, they interact with everybody. They learn how to interact, but they don't form a boundary saying that, okay, I want to play only with these two people. I will not play with that. Enmity thing has not started. Not till the age of 4, 5 or something, right? Then, of course, primary starts like after 6, ganging starts, all sorts of groupism starts, negativity starts, all these things will slowly start. It depends on the environment they're in. So, what are the typical social behavioral patterns which a child should develop? Let us say, I'll go on giving few topics. You tell me, okay? Cooperation. When does the child start cooperating? If a task is given or a task has to be done, when do you think the child realizes it and cooperates and does the job?
It's more during the late childhood time.
Yes. Somewhere in the border, okay, 4 to 5 is when they start cooperating and doing that. That is when school people, they start giving group activities also. Before that, group activity is not possible. They don't cooperate. They don't understand. It's not that they don't understand. Then rivalry. When do they start having this quarreling, boasting?
Roughly same time, 5 years,
Yes,
5 to 6 years.
5 to 6. Then when do they have this trait of sympathy, empathy, generosity, all those things?
I think this depends on a lot of what is told to them or taught to them.
Hmm.
8, 9 years.
Yes, absolutely. See, if you would have noticed, no, kids don't have sympathy. They cannot have empathy at all. It's not because of anything else. It is like it comes only by the time they're 8, 9. It's a developmental rule. So we cannot expect, of course, yes, parents will keep telling them the environment in which they are in, that will keep telling them that you have to be generous, you have to be sympathetic, all those things. But as a child, the child will develop these things only by the time they're 8 or 9. Before that, they don't have it. Okay. They may have the desire for social approval. They may try to impress their parents. Later on, they may try to impress their peers, all those things. But they don't understand the concept of sympathy, empathy, generosity, all these things till they reach 8 to 9 years of age. Some unsocial behavioral patterns like negativism. When does it come?
Adolescence.
Yes, till that time they are very straight. They just throw tantrums, they cry, they throw things at the most, but they don't develop negativism in the childhood phase. They don't have that much because they don't, as I told, sympathy, empathy is not there, so negativity is also not there. Aggression, when does it come? Hostility or aggression, when does it come?
Adolescence.
Yes. Quarreling may come earlier, but aggression, negativism will come later on only. They may quarrel in the childhood phase. but they will not certainly be aggressive or negative till they reach adolescence. Then there's one more thing, egocentrism. What is egocentrism?
The I or the me factor.
Yes, kids are egocentric. They don't talk from others' perspective. This is different from the egocentrism that adults have. For kids, it is just that they talk everything from their perspective. Their tendency is to think and talk only about themselves, their family, their possessions. Okay, they are basically egocentric. They start thinking and talking from others' perspective only when they reach the adolescence phase. Prejudice. How do they realize some people are different in terms of appearance or caste or behavior? When do they start realizing all these things? Have you noticed anything from your personal observation? When do they develop this prejudice? Okay. Adolescence? Okay. So prejudice also comes only during adolescence. Then sexual antagonism. You are a boy, you are a girl, you have to behave in this way. All these things, when will it set in?
Teen years.
Yes. Because again, it depends on the environment. The moment they enter the school, they will notice that other kids are also like that. Their dressing sense, they are made to sit separately, they are made to um, act differently, different activities, if at all it is given. All these things will make them realize, and by adolescence, that the thing will set in. Okay, these are the things boys will do, these are the things girls will do. Then, social development at puberty. How is it? Now, what happens? Once they reach 12, 13, how is their social development now? Is it a pleasant one?
For some of them, maybe introverts might become extroverts, extroverts might become introverts sometimes.
Yes, they have a lot of, identity crisis. They are so confused. For some of them, it is because hormonal changes are happening, they themselves are confused. So, for some of them, it may be a very pleasant phase, but for them, for few of them, it may be negative. So, what happens is some antisocial behavior, rebellious behavior. Okay, they will start avoiding certain things, they will start doing certain things. So, for social acceptance, they will do certain things, and certain things which they want to prove a point, they don't want to be accepted, so they will do certain things. It is actually very aggressive. It will come down once they reach adulthood, but during this phase, it's in extremes. Antisocial behavior is very common. Okay. Next is language development. What do you mean by language development? Why do you think we need to develop when it comes to language?
Because it's very important for communication.
Yes, yes. It is not The language, it is not that I know 3 languages, I know 4 languages. No, it is communication. How well we are able to interchange our thoughts and feelings effectively. That is very, very important. In any language, it is very important. So, gestures, emotional expressions, speech, written format, everything has to be effective. So, communication has to be effective. That is language development. Again, it depends on the environment, it depends on the everything is interdependent. Society. Now, when we talk about social development, I wanted to tell you the first society that a child is exposed to is the family. Okay, family is a society. So the first society that a child is exposed to is the child's family. So everything is dependent on that society. Physical development, language development, moral, intellectual, spiritual, everything. Then, of course, it is the school, it is the extended relations and the public place, wherever they go, everything else. But the first is the family. So, when we say language development, it is the effective interchange of thoughts. It has to be meaningful, it has to be associated, it has to have proper gestures and proper words, proper sentences, effective words and effective sentences. Likewise, understanding also. Kids should be able to understand the other person's body language, the other person's gestures, other person's sentences. Most often, what happens is they are not able to understand what is happening in the other side, because of which they are not able to respond properly. So, there are, okay, for babies also, when they are not able to talk, they have so many passive forms of vocabulary, like shaking their hands or crying and all those things. Once we grow, of course, we start using our language. Okay, why do we need language? Importance of speech. Why do we need language?
To express ourselves.
Yes. For our needs and wants, to express what we want. Then, what else? To get attention. Okay. By asking proper questions, by not using forbidden words, getting the information. For all these things, we need language. What else do we need language for?
Sometimes for survival itself.
Yeah, exactly. For building up relationships, for basic survival, we need. See, we have to ability to communicate with others. It's very important for us if we want to exist. For basic survival, we need it. Apart from this, of course, academically, to become excellent, to influence somebody's thoughts, to influence somebody else, to help. For self-evaluation also, we need language, right? Self-talking. How will we think?
Sometimes career development.
For everything, we need language. Okay, pre-language, pre-speech forms of communication. is, one thing is, you told, we discussed earlier also, is crying. Pre-speech form of communication, one is crying. Okay. So it can be due to fatigue, pain, hunger, unpleasant experience, or just for gaining attention also, a child may cry. There is something called as cooing. Do you know what it is? It's very interesting. Cooing and babbling. Pre-speech form of communication. What is cooing?
To make the two sound to
Not
acknowledge as if acknowledging.
Okay. See, you know what is going? If you closely notice a newborn or maybe an infant 3 to 4 months old, it is a chance movement of the vocal mechanism. They will just try to open their mouth and bring out their noise. It has no structure. Okay, it just depends on the shape of the oral cavity. The way it modifies the stream of air from the lungs. It is just we, that's all. They don't even try to use their lips or anything. That is called as cooing. Now, very soon this cooing turns to babbling. What is babbling? Babbling is the next
Just
stage.
to utter words which have no meaning.
So, cooing is when just the air comes out. None of our mouth, parts of our mouth has been used. Babbling is when we start lips, everything. Okay. So what happens when we'll use the lips? No, will become ba. Okay. Ka, ta, ba, da, everything. So we are using different parts of our mouth. Now the air is getting a proper, not a proper, just it is using, the child is using various parts of the mouth. That is called as babbling. So that is when the child says mama, mama, papa, papa, all those things. We think it is amma, papa, but yeah. So that is called as babbling. Then of course gestures is there. It's a substitute for speech, but it cannot go on forever. Till the child learns to talk, the child can use gestures. Then emotional expressions, other ways of making faces, or showing displeasure through their facial expressions, all those things. That's on. Okay. There is one thing called as tasks in learning to speak. There are 3 things which the child tries. If the child doesn't try, parents should try. First is pronunciation. Okay. See, why I'm saying this is, nowadays, kids are not very, very comfortable with their mother tongue. Let us say the mother tongue is Tamil. The child hardly gets an opportunity to talk in Tamil in the house. Mostly the language spoken is English. Okay. So what happens? There are certain letters which the child is not able to pronounce properly in Tamil. R can never come. Then more common letters that the child cannot pronounce. If the child is not talking, what I have observed is the many kids are not able to pronounce. They are just saying Tamil. They will never say Tamil. So the reason is they are not talking enough in Tamil, because of which they are not able to use the letter ta very efficiently. Mostly they are saying ta in place of ta. So these are the small nuances in pronunciation, which if we notice in the beginning itself, that words can be more effective. That, we'll say that. If you notice carefully, it's very common these days with kids. So this is pronunciation. We have to correct their pronunciation in the beginning itself. Then vocabulary building. Vocabulary building, of course, reading, watching TV, talking to their friends, talking to very kinds of people. All these things will help in their vocabulary building. And they also have this thing called as, general vocabulary and specialized vocabulary. If the child belongs to a doctor's family, their vocabulary in terms of health will be much better than any other child. That happens very naturally. If the kid's parents, they are in the financial world, the money vocabulary of the child will be very much evolved than other kids. So similarly, number vocabulary, time vocabulary, money vocabulary, all these things, they come under specialized vocabulary. Then there are general vocabulary, like general things that we talk. Okay. Then the third thing is sentence formation. This is very important because again, the child should learn how to form the sentence effectively and communicate effectively in the shortest span of time. What happens is, one small thing, the child will go on talking. The child is not able to effectively form a sentence and finish the entire thing in 1 or 2 sentences. So these 3 factors are very important for language development: pronunciation, vocabulary, and sentence formation. Again, as I said, content of speech is first is egocentric, then socialized. Egocentric is when they don't know about others, they talk only about themselves, and slowly they start developing sympathy, empathy, understanding everything. They understand others and they talk more about others also. Then socialized speech sets in. When they are talking about the society, they are able to talk from others' perspective. These are 2 kinds of speech. Yeah, that's all. So this is language development. Then comes intellectual development. Intellectual development is also called as cognitive development. It's a very complicated thing. It depends a lot on the earlier factors. Intellectual development is dependent on physical development, language development, social development. Everything will govern the intellectual development. There is one Piaget, a psychologist. I don't know much about psychology. Maybe you might have studied this in the psychology class. So, according to him, a man's intellect works in 2 stages. First is adoption. Second is organization. Well, if we apply this theory to ourselves also, let us say we are exposed to a new situation. You are going to a new city. Okay. How will you apply this adoption and organization theory to yourself? Okay. I'm talking about my own experience. So you also think from your own perspective. Intellectually, if we want to develop, so let us have a situation where we are going to a new city. We are going to be there in that city for 1 week, 10 days. So, how does our intellect work? What happens? What is the first thing that happens when we enter a new city? Just think and tell me.
Our language skills might help us.
Yeah, true. Okay.
Mm.
Then food. Food also we will try to figure out what those people eat, what kind of things are available, right? Then
Whether if it is very, very different from
yes, weather condition. Then yes, all these things. So basically, adopting to the new environment, their food, their culture, their weather, their language. Okay, everything we will first adopt. Then we will intellectually organize ourselves accordingly. We will change our food habits, our dressing style, our talking sense, everything according to that. It will take maybe, for me, it takes a day or two. I will analyze, I will see how people are, what the weather conditions are, what is the food availability, all those things. And by the third day, I'm well prepared. I know how to handle that day. For me, typically, it takes 2 days. For others, it may take more than 2 days. So this is adoption and organization, right? So this is how our brain adopts to the newer situation and our intellectual development takes place. Typically, this is what happens. The sequence of intellectual development. Again, Piaget's theory. So first it is sensory actions. That is seeing, hearing, touching, reaching, all those things. I'm starting from the beginning. A newborn, a child, how will the intellectual development take place? According to Piaget, first is the sensory motor stage, from birth to 2 years. This is the time when the child is trying to figure out what is there. They interact with their environment, with their sensory actions, with their, mainly sensory action. Then they will think that, okay, these are the ways in which I have to behave. These are the ways in which I have to act. In the thinking on an adult object and events, they are mentally preparing themselves. Okay, these are the ways in which I should eat my food. These are the ways in which I should sleep. Timings in which I should sleep. I should get up. I should bath. Everything the child will first go through the sensory stage and then prepare a chart for himself or herself to live accordingly. Okay. All these things will happen the first 18 months. After that, figuring out how to do things, the stage 2 is when the child will start developing the intention. They will start doing things on purpose. Okay, this is how I'm supposed to do. This is how it will be safe for me. It will not be safe for me. How familiar the situation is, how newer the situation is. So all these things will happen after the age of 1.5. And then it is the experimentation stage. When the child explores something new in, dropping it, breaking it, or manipulating things. This is the last stage of intellectual development. So the first is sensory motor stage, reflex oriented. Second is intention oriented activity. Third is experiment oriented activity. Okay. There is something called as reversibility. What is reversibility? Which the child develops in the later childhood stage. Reversibility is a theory where the child starts thinking, okay, if this particular act can be done in that particular way, maybe the result will be better. The same activity, the child will think, okay, I did like this, so I got this result. Maybe if I will do it like that, the result will be different. So the same process, the child will start thinking in 2 or 3 different directions. You're understanding? This is called as reversibility theory. Let us say a child is given a project. The child has to do the project. The first thing will be the child will do it, finish it, show it. But when the child will see that somebody else is winning in that project, the child will think, okay, maybe I can do that project in that way. That will be more efficient. That can win me a prize. So the same project the child will do in a different way. Some other way they will start thinking. This reversibility starts only after the age of 6. They don't think otherwise till the age of 6. It's a very singular thinking. Yeah, that's all. So this is the pattern of thinking that takes place till late childhood. Logic, analyzing, awareness, self-consciousness, all these things will develop only at the age of 11 and it will go on till, yeah, forever. So all these things will start only after their late childhood. Okay. Next is emotional development. See, there are certain emotions. Positive emotions, negative emotions. So one by one, I will go on telling. You tell me at what age the child develops it, okay? Positive emotions, joy, pleasure, delight, all these things, when does the child develop?
After a year,
Yeah. And again, girls are more expressive than boys. Okay. Girls express it and more, what should I say, seeking, they will be like, okay, this will lead to this will lead to this. So they know how to find the joy. The boys are not that, they will absorb it and they will keep it. Then curiosity. Curiosity develops at a very early age, isn't it? Curiosity starts very early. Affection.
that also starts early.
Very early, 3-4 months itself, they start. Negative emotions like fear. Here is something we should talk. Fear.
Develops early. Like,
What
maybe around
really-
6 months or so, when the child realizes that he or she is being picked by someone else, not the parent.
Yes. So fear is more of, it is a conditioned thing. No, it doesn't come naturally. It's a conditioned thing. And let us say 6 months old child will be afraid of this one thing. That maybe my parents will not pick me up, somebody else will pick up. when they reach maybe by the time they are 1 year old, they will have more reasons to be afraid of, not just picking up. Maybe they might have undergone something like touching something sharp, or maybe hot water or something like that. So that will also add up. They will be afraid of water then. Then they will be afraid of touching certain things then. Then memories will start creating. TV programs, once they start understanding or they're afraid of certain TV programs, that will also add up to their fear. All these things as they go by, this particular thing called as fear, it goes on increasing. So it varies from child to child. It depends from, as I told you, experiences, their maturity, fear of loud noises, fear of animals, strange people, places, objects, darkness, sharp things, hot things, so many things. It all depends on that kid's experience, how they have been through. Then the negative emotion is jealousy. Typically, young children are jealous when their parental interest and attention is shifting towards somebody else. Okay, jealousy is one thing that comes also because of siblings, sibling rivalry, all those things, new sibling. So, how do they express jealousy? Kids do many things to express jealousy, even fear for that matter. How do they express it? What are the
By
typical?
doing something which will seek their parents' attention, like
Yes. They
sometimes in a
pretend.
destructive way,
Yes.
throwing tantrums.
All those things they do. Bedwetting is one thing. Pretentious behavior is one thing. Being extra aggressive or naughty, that is also there. So all these things they will do. Parents should actually find out what is the reason instead of just treating the behavior. They should look at the symptoms and what is causing all these things. They should look at all these things. Anger is one more negative emotion that a child has. When will the child be angry? When do they develop this anger? When do they typically develop anger?
Around 5 to 6 years of age.
Yeah, only then. So basically, only when they are with other kids. Okay. So the anger is something which they develop only when they are with other kids, not so temper tantrums or conflict over playthings causes anger. So typically when they are in the school, that is when their anger develops. Then as of today, it's a very important thing. Anxiety. When do they start getting anxiety?
Teenage?
Yes. Typically, yes. Teenage is actually the right time, but nowadays kids are getting at a very early stage itself. It's a very concerning thing, but that uneasiness, apprehension, everything. Okay. Nowadays, they are showing from the third year itself. From early childhood itself, they start getting anxiety. Mostly because of parent-child relationship, parents-parents relationship, all these things. Then there are, that's it. Shyness. Shyness It comes due to fear sometimes because they are not very comfortable with their language, not very socially exposed. So all these things will lead to shyness. There is one more thing, curiosity. Curiosity, I think I discussed, right? Yeah, it's all. Next is moral development. Moral development is again based on society, based on, based on the society and the family. How do kids develop morality? How do they realize this is right, this is wrong? They are not born with it.
By the parents' guidance, parents and teachers.
So, of course, the society in which they live. Okay. So each society, one thing will be right for somebody, but the same thing will be wrong for some other society. So it is the society. Firstly, the child will have to internalize the rule. They don't know. They have to internalize it. They have to realize that, okay, here, if I do A, B, C things, they are right. If I don't do them, they are wrong. So that is how typically they do also. Okay, they internalize it. This is what we call as conscience. Conscience is we internalize things and we realize, okay, these are the things which will be considered right. Here, somewhere else it will be different. So, when the child goes against it, it will be like it's against the conscience, so the child will not do it. Then, the second stage is, once they have internalized it, they will start behaving accordingly. So they will drill it in their mind, and the second thing is they will behave accordingly. Third thing is when they make judgments. Okay, this mainly happens in adolescence. When they are like, okay, why am I behaving like this? Is it really that wrong? Why am I told to eat like this or sit like this or talk like this? Is there anything wrong about it? So this happens only in the later on stage, in adolescent stage, when they start making judgments. Okay, so they then start taking their own decisions. Their own conscience will be developed. It's not based on just the society they are living in or what they have been told. That is why they start behaving in a particular fashion and we call it as rebellious behavior. The thing is, they have started judging the morality they have been taught. So moral development is also that much only. Then cultural development. Culture that they have been taught. Okay. Social media. Basically, cultural development is the place where they are, the family, the society, the schools, or the place they are going, the culture they are imbibing. That will help them to develop certain. Everything is interdependent. Morality is dependent on cultural development. Cultural development is dependent on moral development. And the last one is spiritual development. Of course, happens only in adulthood. Again, depends on the surrounding. Okay. Internalization is very important for spiritual development. So it depends on the surrounding in which they are growing up. So how early they are able to internalize and connect and then look for a look for ways to develop. So spiritual development is very much dependent on everything else. It's not single. Yeah, so let's not. Any other development? These are there in your syllabus. And basic child development only you have to learn. It's not for anything else. So in this, most important thing is physical development, social development, and language development. These three only is very important to formulate any lesson or to teach. Okay. So these three things are you have to really be very good at. Other things, as I told you, depends on these three things. Okay. You have any doubt, anything you want to ask? Any doubt? Uma, Aarti, there is one person called Vaishnavi, I don't know. So Uma and Aarti, do you have any doubt? No. So yes, I was told only to teach you basic child development. I'm not getting into the details, and it is not required also. So basic child development is essential. You just focus on physical development. That in the exam, if you, I don't know whether exams will be there, but lots will be asked from the physical development. Okay. Do you have exams? Will you have exams for this? And do you have any projects? Do you have to?
They will be having exam. They will be having exam.
Okay.
And for this is allied 1 and allied 2 alone, they will be having the exam in another 2 months.
Oh, okay.
So core 1, core 2 was module 1, and that is over. That is music, dance, drama, all that is over. This time it is anatomy, physiology, psychology, normal child development, and teaching methodology. So that theory part will be over now.
Teaching
Yes,
methodology.
Ambikaka will be teaching that. Ambikaka will be teaching that. And then after this module 2 is over, they will have to do module 3. That is the case study with the student on their own. They will do the case study with the student on their own. That is module 3.
So while doing the case study, you keep all these things in mind while formulating the lesson plans, you know. So all these things, if you keep in mind, it will be very, very effective in doing the case study. Okay. Okay, Purna, it's you. I thought Vaishnavi is somebody.
I'm only the third one. There, yes, I'm Vaishnavi Purna. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Tell me. So case study you'll be doing online?
Case study they can do in their own wherever they are.
Okay.
8 sessions they can do in person also. They have to give us a report. And 8th session alone, if they are together in one place, we will watch online.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And project they have to do for module 4. That is with a group of children.
Yes. Project will be.
Something like a stage presentation or something
Yes.
like that.
Okay.
That
So
also
in-
we will watch.
Okay. Okay. In all those, child development is really very helpful. That's the point I'm trying to make. We can very clearly see how the child interacts, how the child is able to perform, or how the child is able to. Everything is interdependent. So you can use all these things, and then accordingly you can plan the lesson. Okay. Any doubt you have, you can ask me. Okay. Then, okay, I think Purna, it's over.
It's over. Okay, then you can wind up. No problem.
Okay. Okay, bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.